Hello everyone, good evening, happy Monday night from a steamy Monday night in the UK. Feels like we've had a week of biblical rain and now we're just getting steamed out here. Hope everyone's staying cool in this market. So, since last week, and last week was seriously a parabolic week. You know, we blew through our 382 fib resistance and we talked about what would happen, and we've done that twice now. I'm talking about the Fibonacci retrace levels from, I've got a Bitcoin tether chart here, so it's not got the great long history, but we have got the history from the highs, and that's all that matters at the moment for this purpose. Okay, because we're looking at the big retrace from the highs that we made in December 2017. And we did the same thing, you know, at this 236 fib, we had a little cursory stop and then we flew above it and came back and back tested it. Same thing happened here. I think that, you know, a lot of people in this market are psychologically damaged by this really nasty bear market. And they're still thinking that we're going to get a bigger pullback in Bitcoin than I think that we're going to get. And this is quite a squeeze play that we've going on. And so the reason is when we get to these big levels, people can't wait to short it because they really think it's going to go down and hurt them. And so what we've been seeing, the fuel, if you like, for this rally, particularly this one above 10,000, was the stops. People took profit. People didn't just take profit at 10,000, but they sold Bitcoin short at 10,000. And their stops was the rocket fuel that pushed it higher. And we know that they sold it short, not just took profit, because if we, for example, we can look at the BTC shorts at Bitfinex. And if we look, they're still adding shorts now. So if we look from the lows of the 7th of June, all that's happened is the shorts have built up and built up. Almost doubled. If this low was, look, down here, was at 15,900, and now we're approaching 3,000. So they've almost doubled the shorts since the middle of May. So if we go back and look at what Bitcoin price has done since then, we can see why we're in this position, basically. Let's look at Bitcoin. We'll go back to Tether. So middle of May, since here, where's middle of May? Here. So as soon as we paused at this 236 fib, they've been selling it, and all this rally here, the shorts have doubled. So from here, from this pause here to here, the shorts have doubled. And so you know, when you sell a market a short, there's no limit to how high it can go. And so you have to, at some point, use stops or stop out or take the pain. And this is where the fuel has come from. And this is how short squeezes work. This is how reversals work. So are we now still coming up on a level where we may see a reversal? Yes, we are. The next level where we may see a reversal is around 11,500. I'm sorry it's out of focus. Perhaps you could reset it to check your connection. So where might we find, so if we look at 11,500, here we are consolidating underneath it in a wedge consolidation. Now, you very often see these wedge or triangle patterns in a wave 5 position. They're usually 5 or 7. So we go A, B, C, D, E. So this next swing lower should be the final one. And then we rally out and break to the other side. So that's what I'm expecting in Bitcoin. And funnily enough, the last legs usually from this shape pattern is usually the last swing in the trend before we see a bigger reversal. So we are potentially running out of steam, and we may, around 11,500, see a bit of a request. You can request more coins, and if we have time, we'll do them at the end. B. So that's what I'm expecting now. everybody's going to be looking at this big 50%, okay, 11,500. So what happens if we do it again and we blast through? We do the A, B, C, D, E here, and then we fly through the level again. Well, if we hold above it, then just like this level here, it should become support. We might test it. We really didn't really test this one at all. There was no pullback at all. And if we do, then our next resistance level is 13,469. And so, you know, we might do that. We might do it, you know, when you're in a parabolic short squeeze and people keep selling it, and that bit for next chart says that people are still selling it, this could happen. And if we look left at the levels, we can see that these levels are quite important. There's quite a lot of support and resistance around these levels, and so they are going to be a big deal. I am not going to predict whether we break them or whether we reverse at them, but that's where the levels are. So how are you going to trade it? What if you've got a load of Bitcoin and you're wondering? Because, you know, in Fibonacci terms, if you markets that do mean reversals, 50% reversals, quite often will pull back 50%. If we pulled back in Bitcoin 50%, we would be looking at coming back down to around 7,500 if we reverse at this 50% level. That's quite a long way back to come. So we don't, we need to watch this quite carefully. So I'm going to go back to, I would put an alert at this level, if you like, and see what happens when we get here. If we see a nasty sharp reversal, sell a little of your position. If we then start breaking down, you know, in an hourly trend, we make higher highs and higher lows. If we take out the previous low, we've got a hourly reversal. If it turns into a bigger reversal, maybe you want to close your whole position. If we reverse at a 50%, we will come back to the 382. We will come back, you know, to the previous support and broken fib level. If that breaks, we will do that 7,500 thing. But that's how I would trade it. I will be watching it at that price to see what happens. And if we hold above, hold on for the ride. We'll do it again. Okay. James said yesterday the rallies all seem to get rejected. It is because, you know, look at this daily chart and look at this, how stretched we are, how far we are from the 20 moving average. That's down at 9,200. We're really super stretched. And so what we're seeing here is a bit of sideways consolidation after a parabolic move. We're letting everything calm down, and you know, markets really have three directions: up, down, and sideways. When we're going sideways, that's when we make all the patterns that people talk about: wedges and triangles and inverted head and shoulders and double bottoms and double tops. They all come from when markets are in a sideways trading pattern. So we just have to not get chopped up, watch it go sideways in this range, and then just wait for it to break out. We'll see which way we go from here. I am expecting, though, that we will do that. One more swing lower. And I don't like to draw, you know, when you draw them really tight, it's usually a recipe for disaster. So I find that, for example, let's call this an AB. Let's measure these legs and make these equal. So I wouldn't be surprised if we retested the lows down here at 10,370. Something like that, and then we could, you know, I expect it to be higher, but it might not be. So I'm going to give it a bit of a wiggle room. But yeah, as long as we don't break these lows, we're in a sideways range. I'm expecting it to find support and go higher. Yeah, I hope so, Ryan. But the market, and Bitcoin especially, loves to fool people. It loves to trick them into going the wrong way. And if we break this, if we draw it too tight and it looks like they're breaking down, then the bears are going to pile in and then they're going to have their faces ripped. So let's see. Now, big picture in Ethereum. So that's Bitcoin. Let's move on to Ethereum. Sorry about the dog trying to make herself comfortable next to me. Stop digging. Okay, so here in Ethereum, I haven't drawn my fibs all the way from the highs in this one. Just the most recent swing lower at the moment. And the reason is that they're working. I use a 236 fib as my touchstone. It's like the first one that I want to see a reaction at. And that's what we got very nicely in Ethereum. So we went sideways at this 236 fib. And when we broke above it, which we finally did after some trading sideways, we moved higher. And now we're headed back to this 382, which is at 371. So I don't see any reason, and this previous low really, I don't see any reason why ETH should not reach this 371 level. So it's got quite a lot of room to the upside, and it might indicate that, you know, Bitcoin does keep going and it breaks above. Now, a lot of people are looking at this and calling it an head and shoulders pattern. It might be a head and shoulders pattern, but it's not anything until it breaks out. So until then, we are just really sideways in an uptrend, consolidating. So I'm going to leave it like that. And if we find support or a false breakdown here, then I think it's the level you can buy. And up we go again. And we're looking for the 370s in ETH euro, in ETH dollar. In ETH euro, we'll do the same price. So we're looking for this consolidation to break to the upside. And 309 is these lows and the level that we're looking for next, 309 in ETH. And if we take a look at one to keep an eye on is always ETH Bitcoin. And ETH Bitcoin at the moment is trying to hold on to a support level. If I look at this, because we had this extraordinary rally, and since then we've had this really kind of funky correction. If I look at this, it looks to me like we've made kind of an equal, an ABC equal measured move. Sorry, I've done it wrong. Hold on. Here we go. There we go, like that. We're kind of at a level where maybe we find some support. We've gone sideways for 5 days in a sideways range. I would really like to see this sideways range in ETH Bitcoin break to the upside. When I look on a lower time frame, to be honest, it's not very inspiring. It's a bit like the Bitcoin triangle where, you know, to be honest, this shape usually breaks lower. But at the moment, I've got some ETH because I think that ETH is setting up another leg higher. Hello, Asher. So, Ethereum Bitcoin, lots of room to the upside. Not outperforming Bitcoin yet, but pretty solid sideways movement in this one. So let's move on and look at some more. So we've got Litecoin and the halvening coming. What a horrible reversal we've got going on here, and a really nasty, after our spectacular rally, a really nasty, I think, three-wave correction. So here's our first leg, here's our bounce, here's our next leg of correction lower. If I measure from this high to this low and I project it from here, if we hold out for the big equal measured move, we haven't really quite got here yet. It's down here at around 9,655 in Litecoin Bitcoin. However, we're sitting right now on the 200 moving average, and you can see from looking back that the 200 moving average has been quite a big deal for Litecoin Bitcoin, and that was the support that we managed to rally and double bottom from last time. So potentially we could find our feet here and turn things around. So far, even if I go all the way down, I don't see any bullish price action yet. In fact, we've only just got to this 200 moving average level. And if it breaks, if we keep going lower and we break underneath this 200 moving average, then this 9590 level is where we're going to keep going lower too. So watch out. You might be, if you're holding a bag of Litecoin, it might be that you're going to be better off in Bitcoin for a bit. Let's take a look at Litecoin US dollar anyway, because sometimes, you know, a coin will look terrible against Bitcoin and it's in a pretty nice uptrend. And big picture, you know, Litecoin Tether, I really do think we've got further to go. The big 382 fib that we're waiting for in Litecoin Tether is at 154. It's 150, I think, Litecoin dollar. And this could very easily just be sort of wedge consolidation. So if that's the case. You know, sometimes I don't like to draw it too steep because really it can end up being a bit of a sideways range. If this triangle breaks down like this, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 touches, then your target is going to be the horizontal support from here. That's your first level. And if we find support there, that's our sideways range, and that's where we'd be looking. So Litecoin Tether, we're looking for support around 125. And if we look at this as a swing, and we see where the fib retraces, that's the 382 fib again, we would retest. If we come a little bit lower, maybe 120, but this should be pretty good support at 125. If we go back to the daily, we see where that 125 is. You can see that we could do that quite easily, come back to this 20 moving average, and it's just, you know, a correction in this trend. These corrections have been fierce. If a good way to look at it is, look how long that previous correction was, how far that went, and project it from there. That takes us down to 122. We'll do the same again from here because the markets like to repeat these things. We'll do the same from here. Same price, 121, 122. And so, you know, it wouldn't be out of line with all of these previous corrections in this sequence if we came down to 125, 122. So hold on. That's where I think we could be pulling back to. If we look at Litecoin Euro, we're again, you know, we're still in an uptrend in Litecoin Euro, and let's do the same thing. So we'll see where these bring us back to from the highs. Just these in the sequence. When we go beyond that, we kind of know we'll break it. They're both about the same level, around 107. This one obviously is a bit of a bigger one. If we did that, we come back and we test the big fib level and you know, like, you know, 197, sorry, 97 in Litecoin Euro, and retest this 236 fib level. So I think there's 2 levels of support we should look at to buy pullbacks in Litecoin Euro: 107 and then 97. Those are the 2 levels I'll be looking. Another way I like to do it is to look where the 236 fib from the lows comes in. That doesn't line up with anything. Or this most recent swing, sometimes that's helpful. And not this time. That's where we're looking anyway. Let's take this as the most recent swing and say 50% of that, 107. So I'm going to go, you know, quite solidly 107, I think, in Litecoin Euro. I think that that's a really strong first level. While Will Denton. Okay, that's Litecoin. Expecting a bit lower before we go higher then. Now, Dash is one. Pardon? Oh, I wanted to talk about, I'm having a bit of a competition. Okay, so you can win lifetime membership. Sorry, that was me turning the sound off. Anyway, you can win lifetime membership, a year's membership, or 6 months membership. It's open to people in my group as well as everybody who comes on a Monday night. You have to register, and I think you have to have a Facebook account. If you haven't got one, you can make up a name, and so you don't need to be, you know. Anyway, lifetime is just for as long as I live, which is probably less than you're going to live, but there we go. We've been going 2 years, so we might, hopefully we'll go a bit longer. Okay, I'm glad we're back. So let's look at Dash. In Dash Coin against Bitcoin. We had a really pretty good rally, you know, in May. We've had lots of stuff about, you know, everyone's using Dash in Venezuela and stuff like this. But Dash is really still underperforming Bitcoin. And I feel like every time I look at this chart, I just feel disappointment, really. I know that's bad to say, but we keep falling. So when you see this, really, we could see Dash going up against the US dollar. Doesn't mean you're going to lose money, but it really just means at the moment you're better off in Bitcoin at the moment. I think that the next support may be 14,500 short term. But if I look for where everything lines up with this one, gosh, it's down. It can't be down there. There it is. I knew it had lined up. Yeah, so I think we've got an interim support level at 14,500 where you may see a bounce. But if you were going to be buying for the big one, the big swing, the support comes in between 10,570 and 10,900. And that's where the Fibonacci projections from this most recent rally and the big rally that we made here sort of all line up. So I'm going to go with that and say that's probably, I could put a few more on. And sometimes they work and sometimes... Anyway, not quite at the moment. Further to fall. And I wouldn't be waiting for it. Dash is a good, useful currency. It really is as a currency. I'm just not so sure it's great as a store of value. And that's the problem. If you want, for a currency, it's great for moving money. It's very fast. But it's not great if you need to put your money into something. Let's take a look at Dash US dollar, because this is what I mean about this Bitcoin, rampage, because it makes stuff look terrible when you chart it against Bitcoin. But we're not losing money in Dash US dollar. In fact, we're very stable in Dash US dollar. So you're not going to, if you're looking for something to put your money into to make money, it won't be Dash coin. There is a chance, I'm not a big fan of cup and handles, I'm going to be honest, but they work the same way as head and shoulders patterns or any other sideways consolidation pattern. If we break out from this sideways range, we measure from the low to the high and we project it from the breakout point. And so that takes us to this 50% and 300 in Dash US dollar. So we keep looking at this for a breakout, and look, we've been here since the 1st of April. This is a weekly chart at this level that we keep testing, and we haven't been able to break out. If we look at it just recently today, because it started to look, if you look on the daily, see how we couldn't close underneath it? Well, 2 days ago, we closed above our resistance level. So that was like, maybe we're going to hold it and carry on and go higher here. So when I look at this hourly, so far, so good. We are holding above this level. So I think if we can break up from this consolidation, in other words, if we can get a move like this, we hold the level and break out from it, that's great. We'll be in a decent swing higher. We should see more upside on our stop for swingers. We'll be underneath here around 170. Now, this doesn't mean it's going to look good against Bitcoin, but it does mean it will go up against the dollar. And the next fib level, our next upside target would be 244. And that's a pretty nice move because these highs are 180. So 180 to 244, that's a decent trade. And a very nice risk reward as well on this one. So Dash Coin, watching for a breakout against the US dollar. But the Bitcoin chart says if you don't need to be, you might be better in Bitcoin for a bit longer. And that's very, very similar to Neo. We'll do Neo in a minute. Let's look at some Ripple first. Because Ripple had great news, we hope, great rumours. There's always great rumours for Ripple. Didn't manage to break out though. This is Ripple Bitcoin, and this is another chart here. With this doji, I thought, gosh, maybe we've got a chance here. We've done a little ABC correction, something like that. It was a pretty good ABC level. But you can see we've dropped lower and we are continuing lower. So I think we're set to retest the 4,000 lows down here. And we'll see what happens there. I'm going to go quickly to the weekly chart. Because you can see actually here in Ripple, we do have the potential, if we break this support level, to go lower against Bitcoin. This does not mean it won't go up against the US dollar. But if it goes lower against this, let's mark where our support levels are. Okay. We're going to do this, and we're going to put our 886 fib, which is the next support. Let's make them bright where we can see them. Down here, I think it's going to be around between 2,600 and 3,000. Gosh, it's going to be ugly. If we look though, this is the 786 fib retrace that we've been it's been very woolly, and a 786 fib is not normally woolly. So, you know, maybe we hold this support. If we don't, I think we're looking at 3,000, maybe down to 2,600. Okay, that's Ripple Bitcoin weekly view. So we'd be watching these lows like a hawk, won't we, for a bullish reversal and to see if we're going to hold it. First time bounce, guys, it's not always a good idea to buy this kind of a bottom move. This was on news. Okay, if there's no news, then it's very rare to see a V bottom like that unless a market's really unbalanced, like everybody's short. And so what tends to happen is you'll make a base and then a retest, and then you might do it a couple of times, and then you'll make a kind of bottoming pattern. So that's what I'd be watching out for if this level is going to hold in Ripple Bitcoin. In Ripple Dollar, we're in much better shape. So if you don't mind that the people in Bitcoin are making more money, you know, we're in a bit of a wedge consolidation in this one. So we're just like, I'm going to say that we're just like Bitcoin, really. Except, okay, so this is the daily chart against the dollar. We've gone A, B, C, D, and I think we're going to do an E leg before we carry on again. You see how, even though it looked like we make a higher high here, see how we couldn't close above it? That's bearish. This is a false breakout, a swing failure pattern they call it. And so when you see that, it means you're going to come back and retest support before you break out. When you go all the way up here like this, and then you can't close above the previous high, that's called a false breakout or swing failure pattern. So we might not come all the way back. We might only come sort of, I don't know, 50%, and then rally from there. If this is a new upswing, okay, and not just the wedge, then we should hold support around 0.44. But if we don't, I'm afraid, I think it's back to the bottom of the wedge for this one before we make a bottom and carry on again. So Ripple, just not ready yet. More sideways against the dollar. So you're not going to lose a ton of money. You're just not ready yet. Now, I was going to say something about Bitcoin. You know, it's very seasonal. I said this before. If you go back to previous years in Bitcoin and all crypto, it is very common to have seasonal corrections, pullbacks in the market and sideways trading in July and August. Sometimes it goes all the way to the end of August. Sometimes it ends kind of mid-August. But for sure, July is not usually seasonally in crypto a bullish month. So whilst I think we can hang around this week close to the highs, especially in Bitcoin, I think that next month we could see a bit of a pullback. So if you're thinking about a holiday, you made a bit of money on this rally, I would take a little profit off and wait in July, and I think you'll get a better opportunity from it. May not happen, I may be wrong, but seasonally that has tended to happen in Bitcoin. And if we do the whole 2 months correction, we will get a really decent pullback and a great level to buy. And when Bitcoin has rallied from September, it usually rallies all the way to year end. So let's see if we can do that this year. That would be so cool. Okay, Bitcoin Cash. How amazing has Bitcoin Cash been? Especially because it's been outperforming Bitcoin. A really spectacular rally. The unfortunate thing with this rally is, and I'm going to go to the weekly to show you, is that when I put my, drawing all over this. This is Coinbase. When I put my fib on from this high to this low, we stalled at the 236 fib, which is like the trend level. So in terms of Fibonacci, we're still in a downtrend. We couldn't get above these previous lows. We couldn't get more than 50% of this high to low rally Here you can see this was 50% of this high to this low where we stopped. And so technically, in terms of trend, we're still in a downtrend. When you stop at a rally at 50% level, you tend to come back 50% level, 50% the other way. So markets that kind of mean revert keep mean reverting. So this was our 50% here in Bitcoin when we pull back to. And we really did try to get out here. But for me, it looks like we're underneath. And so we really are at the last line in the sand with this 200 moving average, I think. I'm going to put my fib a little bit. We'll give a little bit of wiggle room to this 61.8. But then I'm looking for a reversal. You know, just like last week, I've got my alarm on this trend line. I'm looking to see if we can hold support around here and rally. Until then, I don't think there's any reason to be holding it. I think you're better off in Bitcoin. That's all. So let's look at it against the dollar, because you're not losing money in Bitcoin Cash, ABC. You're really not. You know, in fact, we're grinding up. It's just your... Ryan says Bitcoin's not respecting old alliances. No, it's not. It's really not. So here we are. I am going to, you know, now this is against Tether. And I've just done the fibs on this last swing. Look how this 236 fib is acting as resistance here. I'm going to say if we get above this, that we actually might see quite a move higher. But at the moment, it's not looking very inspiring these last few days, is it? And these hourly moving averages have just made a bearish cross. So if I had been riding this up, that's my get out signal. Now, so I'd be watching that this sideways little flag pattern here doesn't break lower. And if it does, that's me out. So I would be out of Bitcoin Cash and waiting for a bigger pullback now. So where are we likely to see back to? You know, potentially we could come all the way back to this 200 moving average. I doubt that we'll come back this far. We may just come back over the summer to these previous lows here. So this is going to be our first horizontal support, around 370 in Bitcoin Cash. So that's the trend, isn't it? The daily trend level. And then if we are going to make a top, then we'll do this. We'll come back to this. We'll probably bounce off this level first time back. If it's going to be a topping pattern, we might make a head and shoulders, something like that. But if not, this is the level where you'd be looking for a pullback to buy again. 360, 370 for Bitcoin Cash. Now let's have a look at some ADA. Lately, I feel like every time I've got excited about ADA, I've been let down, which is a bit disappointing. When you look at this, it's another one. These tether charts, or anything, any shitcoin even, against the dollar, they all look great, don't they? They all look like they really want to go. And this ADA is no different. In this one, I haven't been able to get the fibs right, and I've gone from this high at Binance. But this is definitely a bottoming pattern, and it's starting to look like we're breaking out. You know, if I look at, we come from this first high here, haven't we? You know, and I'm starting to think maybe let's raise it up to where these highs are. Because if I do that, we haven't actually quite yet. But I'm watching it. It's really tiresome. You're right, it is so tiresome. So against the dollar, 0.101. If we can get above this, we can probably, I'm sorry, I didn't mean shitcoin, but you know what I mean. There are some coins, listen, there are blue chip coins, like there are blue chip coins and there are little tiddlers. One thing about this recent period that we've been in is you can pick almost any chart and look at it against the dollar, and they all look really well supported. They're all trading above the 200 moving average. They all look like they want to go higher, and they're just kind of consolidate. They have this look. You know, in any other chart, if this was a stock, you'd be going, whoa, that's getting ready to blow up. So, you know, I'm sorry I said shitcoin, but You know, they're not all blue chips, are they? ADA's a blue chip, but it's not. They're not all blue chips. I mean, we could talk about this one. Let's talk about this one against the US dollar. This one doesn't look bad at all as well. You know? Tell me what a great coin that one is. Okay. I know, so many times if ADA can just get above. And shall I tell you what the problem is with ADA? Okay, let's look at ADA Bitcoin. And this is why it's good to look at Bitcoin charts. Because our first warning in ADA that it wasn't going to happen came when we just didn't get the bounce we wanted. So here, we got all excited about this rally, didn't we, in ADA off the lows at the end of last year. And the problem is, it looked just like an ABC. We had no fifth wave. It went to 1.618 of this first wave, and normally that would get me really excited. I'd be like, oh, wave 3, just need to pull back and one more leg higher. And we didn't. We came all the way back again. And so, and then since then, you know, when we had this rally here in May, I got all excited about this, couldn't make new highs, had this ABC look, and couldn't get above the 200 moving average. And again, if I measure from this low to high here, we stopped at the 61.8. I'm like, damn, stuck again. I am still in Ethereum. You know, if anybody who hasn't got Bitcoin as their top pick isn't doing it right, honestly. And I think Ethereum is the second one. But as soon as you see this sideways, choppy, overlapping patterns, ABCs, can't get above the 200 moving average, you know you're going to go lower. And so that was really our warning that it wasn't happening for ADA Bitcoin. So here we are, we're so close to these previous lows. It's starting to look like they're going to retest it. So that's ADA. Not good news, I'm afraid. NEO is a little bit more perky. Let's take a look at NEO. This is NEO Bitcoin, so whenever you see one that's up and trying to outperform Bitcoin, that's always going to be an exciting chart. This is what we've got here with NEO. We're really fighting to get past these previous lows in NEO 1672, 1672. Sideways range, pushing against the highs. Look how many days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times we've knocked on this door and we haven't been able to break out. And once again, here we are underneath it today. We tested it today. The sign that NEO Bitcoin has reversed is when we get above this 1672 level and we hold it as support. Every other time that we've gotten above it, we've fallen right back through again. The retest is the test. The retest is the test. So the time that we get above, and we might not even pull back to retest it, it might just squeeze and go, might look a bit like this. That's the time that NEO has actually done it and broken out against Bitcoin. And when we do, where are we going? Well, next stop is this 200 moving average here. And I think 50% of this high to low. So the 200 moving average is at around 1959. But I'm going to say 50% back's probably more likely and doable. There it is. 1980. 1976, the 50% level is. So that's the target if we break out. Now, we might go a little bit high. You know, when you have ranges like this, you normally go twice the range. The problem is that I think the bottom of the range might be here, in which case this is our range, and this will be twice. So, wait, have I measured it right? No. Like that. And then this is twice our range. So it gives us the same level anyway. So that's what I'm looking for. If we can break out, that's the trade in NEO. So NEO Bitcoin looks okay, which means NEO Tether should look fantastic. And NEO Tether looks fantastic. Now, we had a bit of level. These are all old projection levels. They've worked pretty well, but I'm going to hide them because our target is going to come from fib pullbacks and previous lows and stuff like that. And so we're just going to take this most recent swing lower here in Neo Tether from the high that we made on the 1st of May last year. And the 236 of that is at 26.59. So we're in an uptrend. We're fighting through the sticky levels and buying pullbacks for 26.59 next. Okay. Neo, Ryan doesn't like Neo either. Okay, I'm not going to call it names. Now, see, this is in this swing. Look, we had small corrections and then this is our big correction here in the middle. I find it really useful to project from these swings. Okay, so when we're in an uptrend, I put the fib from the high to the low. If I was projecting in a downtrend, I would go from the low to the high. Okay, but in an uptrend, we go from the high to the low of the correction, and we use the fib projection levels for targets. So 1.618, 2.618, and so on, and up we go, 3.618, 4.2. So here, they're just stall levels. This is where we've stalled at this 1.618. If we keep going, 22 points, and so on. That's, I find, really useful for targets. So Neo, very nice uptrend, looking for 26 at a stall level. And hoping for a breakout against Bitcoin. That would really help it. Now we're going to look at VeChain, which is something we trade WAN sometimes in my group. It's quite a small little coin, so it can be a little bit thin. But we'll look at it here anyway, so don't all pile in. Where is WAN against Bitcoin going to find some support, and is this a good level? Well, there's a couple of ways I look, as you know. We'll do some projections quickly here, and I'm going to do them with you so you can see how we do them. Here's our 1.618 from that swing. That's not going to catch us. We're going to go from here a bit higher. Now look for confluence. That means where everything lines up at the same place. So, and when you do that, you've usually, or in kind of a bunched up, you've usually kind of got a zone. It's not really happening for VeChain Bitcoin at the moment. The most important one, I think, is the most recent one. So we'll make this red and we'll see if this lines up with any of the others. And yeah, it kind of does. It lines up with this 2.618, and the 1.618 of this one worked pretty well before. So we'll stick with this and say 279 next. But I'm just going to check with that. Yeah, underneath it. So I think VeChain Bitcoin has further to fall. That doesn't mean that $1 is dead, but just means it's, and in fact, this, you know, you're not losing money, you're not making any money really, it's just sideways. So many alts, the same thing, not really going anywhere. Now the problem with this one, this isn't looking good. So I measured from this bounce, look, this big swing. We're not going to count this 1.618 because that would be a negative number. So negative numbers don't happen. So we are now going to look at some, if we break lower here, where might we end up? And that's a negative number. Okay, that's where that comes from. So this is an okay. Now okay, there's that support. So 0.15, so 0.16 basically is the support if this bear flag breaks down, and it's got the bear flag shape, so quite possibly that's what happens. Sometimes though, when you have the third touch of these trend lines and everybody gets too bearish, what happens here is we get a whole bunch of liquidity and it rallies like mad. So we could find support here and rally away If we do break down though, get out of the way, because we're going to drop to 0.16 and we're at 0.37. So that's quite a lot to give back if this bear flag breaks down. So nothing to do, I don't think. I look at the price action here on the daily. We're stuck between these moving averages. We did get above the 200. It wouldn't be crazy to find support here and rally from this 200 moving average and pull away and break out from this. Really, we could stop if it's not a bear flag. Potentially it's just a sideways consolidation. And, we could draw these as horizontal resistance like this, couldn't we, pretty well? And we could say this is a rally, a sideways, and we could just carry on higher, finding support from this 200 moving average, but there's no price action to suggest it's happening yet. So there we go. Okay, that's one chain. Maybe we can hold this 200, but it's not exciting me yet. Now I'm going to put an alarm on the upside, because if it does get crazy and decide to rally, I want to know, and I don't want to miss it in one chain. Next one we're going to look at is ARDR requested. This is ARDR Bitcoin. Don't know why I've got this one on such a low time frame. Let's take a look. This is another coin where our rally off the lows failed to get above the 200 moving average, failed to get above the 236 fib, and so against Bitcoin we're still sideways trying to make a base and not a bullish reversal, or not the one that we were looking for. Yeah, in fact, in ARDR, if we're going to go higher, those highs again was that 50% back. You see that in a trend, a 50% rally, and then the likelihood is that you carry on lower. So for me, against Bitcoin, I'm not compelled yet. It's not compelling me to buy ARDR. I think I'm better off in Bitcoin. I would like to see something more of a base, so a big retest of the lows that holds, something like that, or a big bullish reversal. If this is a big ABC correction, then let's break out of this declining wedge and powerfully. But for now, I'm going to say ARDR might look good against the dollar, but you really are better off in Bitcoin for now. Sorry, let's... Yeah, I'm going to say wait for a retest of the lows, ARDR Bitcoin. Now, ARDR dollar, if you don't mind that Bitcoin's doing better than you, then we can look at this ARDR dollar and say, wow, it's fine, it's going up. So if you've got a bag of it, you aren't losing money. You're not, everything is a high. They say that in a strong enough wind, even the turkeys can fly. And, high tide floats all boats. And that's what we're seeing in crypto, a high tide. So you're not losing money in the ones that aren't going up. So you can afford to sit and wait for them too, but it's not quite compelling yet. Now, ARDR Tether. I don't like this spike because I can't measure from it. So I don't know when it's going to stop going up. So let's do it this way. Sorry. There we go. So that... So this 2.618 was our resistance that we tagged. That's when we stop. This 1.618 level should be support. If we look at it on the daily so far, we've held and bounced off this level once. So again, I would look for, in ARDR Tether, I would look for 0.11369 to be support. And if we're going to keep going higher, we will hold this level and turn up again. If we don't, and if we lose it, so if we close under 0.1136, that will say that a bigger correction is underway and we've kind of lost our trend in ARDR Tether. So uptrend as long as we stay above 0.11367. So, okay. Hope I didn't fat finger something. Okay. I did it once. I fat fingered once. I clicked the wrong contract and I was trying to buy crude oil and I bought gasoline, and there's a huge difference between the two. And I don't think I took a breath until I was out of the position. But it was wild. Okay, let's look at basic attention token, because this one was outperforming, has been in a correction, and yeah, we're done, unfortunately. Well, not we're done, but this was a lovely, lovely move. Basic attention token against Bitcoin. If we look at this, see how these measured moves, they give you really nice targets. So this first swing, we had an ABC pullback, and then we had a second swing, which was 5 waves. It was absolutely textbook. And when you see this, so a big ABC like this, you normally come back to the 786 fib retrace. So remember, big ABC swings back to the 786. So that's down here, and we're not quite there yet. Now, fib retrace levels are like a staircase. The other thing, when you have a big ABC that you can measure, like we've seen here, you put your fib retrace over both swings normally, and not just the most recent one. Okay, so this is us. We're looking for 2084, and this is a really good support and resistance level as well for basic attention token against Bitcoin to find support. And we are wrong, and we are going up again if we get back above the fib level that we broke. That was, it really did fight and try and find some support here, didn't it? But didn't quite work. So if we get back above 3650, we're going up. Otherwise, from here we're going lower first to 2080. So that's how I see basic attention token Bitcoin. And unless it's going up against Bitcoin, it's not really going to outperform. But here in Tether, okay, so we had our big rally. Here's our big pullback. Now we're looking for, I'm going to take this away. We're looking for A, B, C in this one. And I think we're looking for a C leg where this swing will be 61.8 of this first swing, and that means 0.2927. So we've got further to fall here for me for basic attention token against Tether as well. We're not quite there yet, unfortunately. Now, see how we've got this sideways range going on? I'm going to put my regular candles on. We've got this sideways range going on here, and this daily 50 moving average was resistance here, resistance, that's what we can't get above. I think if we draw this as a wedge and we break this to the upside, that will be us done going down. And so I would put my alert, if you really like this one, on here so you don't miss it. But otherwise, I'd be looking for 0.2927 to be support in basic attention token, and I'm not really ready to buy this one yet. Komodo, what an interesting chart Komodo is. Let's look at Komodo Bitcoin. It's interesting because of the level mostly that we're at. I'm going to get rid of that previous low. We're looking to see if Komodo can double bottom. And since we got here, the price action yesterday was bizarre, spectacular. Obviously, people were trying to buy it against this previous low. We just unfortunately couldn't get it away. And now that we're underneath it, okay, so remember, this is the psychology of how this works, okay? So people saw this big double bottom level, went, wow, Komodo's a bargain here, I'm going to buy some. So they bought some, and then we dropped back underneath the level that they were buying. Remember, this line is the previous low. So now they're going, oh, this isn't working at all. So as soon as we come back to the line, they've been in pain offside, and so they're selling. And so this is why when you see this and you retest it, all the people that bought here are selling because their long didn't work. So I don't know if we stabilize whether enough people will step in, but this line for me will be my line, my bull bear line. So if we get back above it in Komodo, and it's at 1300, and we can hold above it, up we go. And if we don't, and if we break these lows and this trend line support down here, we've got further to fall, unfortunately, and Komodo won't work. Where are we going to fall? We'll take this most recent rally and we'll project. Where's that 113 going to come? Let's look. So maybe 966 and then 602. So if we can't get back above this 1300 level, a little bit further to fall in Komodo. I'm just going to go to the weekly. Yeah. Dang. So kind of key level. That's what I've been watching for. Good luck in Komodo. Let's have a quick look at Komodo US dollar, because this is another one where you can afford to be, you know, this, if I was looking at this as a stock or any other chart, or if this was any other chart against Bitcoin, I would go, woohoo, this is a really cool bottoming pattern we're making here. This looked like an inverted head and shoulders, which is bullish. Here's my neckline, which comes from these lows, I think. There, my neckline's around there. And we've got a bullish cross of these moving averages, so everything on the weekly in Komodo against dollar says, listen, this is a bullish pattern we're building up. Let's get going. If we go down to the daily, the problem is these neck is down here. It looks like a failed head and shoulders pattern, doesn't it? Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, up we went, and then so failed head and shoulders patterns aren't too good. So we don't want this to come back too far at all, really. But either way, it doesn't matter. We're still, unfortunately, in a sideways range. If I was long, because I like this bullish pattern, I would be prepared to hold it here with a stop under these lows, because this is the 50 moving average, and my moving averages are all lined up bullish. But if we fall any further down to this 200, I would get out and wait and see. So let's wait and see. 1.0. I don't know, Ash Badger, what was the noise that you heard? So that's Komodo dollar, maybe. There are a lot of birds here. And I've got a box full of ducklings. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is XTZ. Sorry, I've got the wrong page. Keep going. Here we go, XTZ. Now, XTZ. This has, I really like this level that we're at, and I'm going to put regular candles on, not high Kanashi ones. I really do like this level that we're at for support. It's the 886 fib, which is like the backstop last line. It's pretty good support from these previous lows around here. If I project from this rally, it's 1.618 of this rally, and so that makes in harmonic patterns a bit of a bat pattern, sorry, bullish bat pattern in this zone, but we have to hold this zone. Oh yeah, I had an alert going off. Yeah, I did. We'll go and check. I'll go and check that alert in a minute. The alert was for Leo. In fact, let's go see. Okay, I'm watching for in Leo for, this is Leo dollar. I'm watching for a breakout of this kind of messy flag pattern. And it's back at the highs, trying to have a go. So we'll cover Leo in a minute. I'm just going to go back to XTZ. So this around here, around 1,000, 10,700 is where I'm looking for us to make a base and find support. It's so frustrating, XTZ, because it's making a new low, and now it's like trying to catch it back again. But I don't like how we're underneath potentially underneath where I thought the support would be. So now we have to really recover the support if we're going to buy it again. So we've gone into a bit of a sideways range, and whilst we hold underneath, then this is not going to happen. So I would, for me as a trend trader, it's got to get back above 12,000 for me to be in a, say it's in an uptrend, and above this pink box. Otherwise, the more likely scenario is that it'll just rally, test it and fail, and we're going to continue lower. And then XTC Bitcoin, you know, maybe at these previous lows, but we don't have the same bullish pattern then, and then we risk retesting the lows. So I'm hoping it's just a little false move and XTZ gets going. And you know, XTZ, when you look at it against the dollar really is not so, Tezos against the dollar is not doing anything so scary, and it's not, you know, testing lows and last line in the sand or anything. And I'm making a mess of this chart. Here we go. In fact, when we drew Tezos, we said, wouldn't it be cool if we made a head and shoulders pattern here, you know, and if this was our left shoulder, okay, and the best head and shoulders patterns have symmetry. So if this is how long our left shoulder took, our right shoulder should take about the same amount of time, which means in a day or two, or gosh, look, 29th, end of the month, we should turn up again here in Tezos tether and start, you know, that would be then a very nice inverted head and shoulders pattern. But to be equal to this one, we've got a few more days, and so we need to wait, unfortunately. Tezos tether. If these lows break, you see how this is the trend support? So this is the trend support here like this. Then this is a small head and shoulders going the wrong way. So don't stay in if these lows break below 1.05. Okay, so not quite exciting yet in Tezos enough, you know. I keep, like, the last 2 days we had a bit of a rally off the lows, and I thought, oh, if we could get above the 20, we'll keep going. Just hasn't done quite enough to turn it around yet. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is Link. Thanks, Daleks. So Chainlink. This is this is tether. It's still a lovely bullish chart. Okay, now in this one, let's hide some of this mess here. In this one, I have projected from this swing and this swing, and it's been pretty good at predicting our levels. If we take that one away, you see how this gave us this high and it gave us this high. Okay, so I'm going to put my red one on, and this 1.618 gave us this high as well. So we're doing pretty good on the predictions of where we go next. And that says, therefore, if this consolidation breaks out higher, then our next fib cluster target in Chainlink tether is between 2.73 and 2.83. But for now, just like a bit like so many of these altcoins against the dollar, we're going sideways. No breakout yet, and really not very much we can do. I've got this as a messy line, but I think if we take this hourly wedge here, that's more useful, you know, and we'll use the lows. So next swing, I'm waiting to see if we can turn higher in Link tether. And that's where we're going. But if we look at Link Bitcoin, so this is another good example. Although I will say, actually, no, Link Bitcoin has been outperforming a bit. So this is my hourly chart. And we've done the same thing with the predictions. So here's our resistance that we've pulled back at, and here's our target, ultimate target. So 29,700, 29,400 to 29,700 is our target. This is our pullback in an uptrend, and we're looking for this to make a base and turn higher. We've made our ABC correction exactly here. I'm going to hide this for a second. So A, See how this is an exactly equal measured move, and the lows were a triple bottom at our measured move level. So that's perfect. We're just waiting for this to turn up higher again and link. And if I put on, if I put back that fib that I hid here from this high to low, you can see that this 1.618 from this swing lines up with our target as well. So our target up here at 29,600. So in Chainlink Bitcoin, I'm waiting for this to turn higher. Now, if I go fib from this high to low, this 236 fib is the level that we've got to close above on the hourly to say we're going higher. 17,588. So if we can close above 17,588 in Chainlink, we're going up. Oh, Dalek says I skipped ETC and VIA. God, okay, I got out of order. Okay, I'm going to go back and do ETC. I think that there's something going. I think people get confused or don't know the history, and I think when Ethereum is going up, they think Ethereum Classic is linked, and Ethereum Classic will go up too. Now, it is a pretty good fib level. When you make an ABC, if you're going to do another leg, this 786 fib is very often where you pull back to where 846. So ETC, BTC, this is a kind of level where we would expect to maybe have a go at support. We are doing pretty good at holding up, but not quite, you know, against Bitcoin. However, when you think most stuff is heading lower, the fact that we've done this and we maybe could turn higher from here means we're outperforming most other coins. So let's take a look at Ethereum Classic US dollar. It's not a trend change yet against Bitcoin, but it's pretty optimistic. Now, tidy up this chart, which is a mess. So in Ethereum Classic US dollar, from the high all the way down here, we have bounced from an 886 fib. So, and well beyond it. And remember, they're a bit like a staircase. So we got above it, found support. Now we're headed higher. Our next one on the upside is 10.62. So pretty nice uptrend in this one, but I really don't think it's going to go with any momentum until ETC is outperforming BTC, and we're not quite there yet. So in Ethereum Classic, that's what I'd be waiting for, and you won't lose money holding it, but so at a good level, just waiting for the turnaround. See if we can make a high. Now, if we, in terms of trend trading, if we take out this high, we're in an upswing. That's what we need to see to confirm it. 860. Okay, and I missed out VIA as well. My apologies. ViaCoin. Gosh. Now, I don't know who asked for this one, but we will. These retrace levels with this spike are not making me happy. So we're going to do it this way. And we're going to see how it's working. Because okay. So we did this big swing high here, and we look like we're headed to 293. We're going to do this one as well. Don't know if this is. So remember, we're always looking for confluence. We're looking for where they all line up. Oh, and they line up down here. See, this is, I'm going to put this on the left. There. So the 1.618 of this corrective bounce, the 1272 of this one, both lines up here. 285, 293. So that's where I think that the support comes in for ViaCoin. And if we look at, you know, this fib level that we got underneath, I think if we get above that, I'm wrong and we're not going to go down anymore. But otherwise, I'm afraid the path of least resistance is lower for ViaCoin, Bitcoin. And so, you know, we're at 427 now, down to 300. Yikes, that's 30% to give back. You don't want to do that. So just be a little careful in ViaCoin, Bitcoin. It might be going up in Via US dollar, but it won't really go with any momentum until it's outperforming. Let's take a look at what we're doing against the dollar. It won't go with any momentum until it's outperforming Bitcoin. And in fact, we're just kind of stable, aren't we, in dollar terms? Not losing any money if you're holding any, thanks to the Bitcoin rally, but you're not really going anywhere. So if we wanted to see when this was going up in dollar terms, look at this resistance level. Every time we get here, this is where we get hit from this low. So yeah, not quite. Now, I would put an alert on a level like that, because that, when you break up from that, you will see a really powerful move when that happens. But until then, I'm afraid not really looking terribly good in VIA, is it? If you had some, see how this is a double top here? So high, high. You don't really want these lows here in the middle to break. Like if you're holding a bag, 40. Watch for 40 to hold as support. Okay, so we've done those. Let's go and look at IOST now. Internet of Services, because this one is doing what people hope happens when you retest a big low. So in this one, on a weekly, we had a swing failure pattern where we made, and we had a little look underneath this level, shook everybody out a bit, but we closed back above it. So that's the bullish swing failure pattern. So a couple of days ago, we had a little bullish doji. It's not really a hammer. Then we had a little inside bar, and today we've got another doji really, because we've broken the highs of this sideways range, but we've come all the way back and closed back in this our sideways range. So until we close outside of this range, we haven't quite got the bullish reversal we want to see yet, but we've got pretty good signs of it. So yeah, let's see if this port, so far it's not quite what you want to see, is it? Looks like an A, B, C. Yeah, it's not quite what we want to see yet, but so a break outside of this sideways range, then we can start looking higher for IOST. So really good level, pretty good price action, just not quite enough for a bullish reversal yet, but keep an eye on it, because it could very easily turn into that. Very easily turn into a bullish move. Above this hourly 200, that would be quite something. So we should see some more upside. And remember, fibs are like a staircase, so that 886 level back to that one would be next at 140. So, and oh, you're talking about the mighty BNB. You know, James always says to me, now look at this lovely pattern if I look at IOST against Tether and this lovely wedge consolidation. Come on, let's just get going. I would love a breakout of this one. It's just not happening yet. So like so many alts, we're just trading sideways against the dollar for now in IOST. Okay, BNB. James says BNB is like Amazon and you should never sell it. But let's see. Okay, so we're doing the weekly chart thing and we're doing projections. So this level here that we got to, and let's put regular candles on. Because this level here that we got to is quite a confluence of resistance. It's not our target. Our target's up here. But it's the 1.618 of this big ABC swing here. And it's the 2.618 of this smaller swing here. And so that adds up to a whole bunch of potential resistance. This is a level where we should be taking some profit, potentially, or watching out that it doesn't turn into a bigger reversal. Now, anybody with a naked eyeball can see that so far this pullback's been really small and shallow and not much going on here. I'm still, remember, bullish, but we need a pullback so we can do our next leg up. So how far is this pullback likely to come? Well, so far, if we're going to stay in a strong uptrend, we shouldn't really breach these previous highs. You know, in a trend, in a strong trend, you can see that the pullbacks don't bleed into the last little consolidation levels. However, we could see very easily 50% of this and then a sharp bounce, something like that. I wouldn't rule it out. So we're just watching for this now to make a bottom and turn up. Here on the hourly in BNB, potentially we've done it. Potentially we've done our ABC correction and we could be all ready to go again, but I don't think we have. In fact, we have done an equal measured move, but I like to see the hourly 200 moving average tagged. And I don't like it when these moving averages are the wrong way around. So my prediction for BNB Tether here is that we retest these lows, we tag this hourly 200 moving average, double bottom, and then that will be our move higher. So that's what I'm watching for. I'm watching for BNB to retest these lows at 36 against US dollar Tether and turn up again. And then if we can clear 39, then our next upside target is 46 for BNB Tether. If we take a look at BNB Bitcoin, I thought this was a diamond pattern. Let me make sure that this, I've drawn this properly. And this looks right, yeah. Okay, not a diamond pattern then. And just a correction. So if we're going A, B, now we're in our C leg. So of our correction. Now potentially 3,200, but otherwise I think we could come back a little bit lower. I'm going to say, you know what, this higher one, I think that by the time we do this, and if we bottom out here like this, and the 200 moving average catches up, that would be a really good scenario for this to go higher. So still in a pullback against Bitcoin and got a little bit further to go. A tag of that 200 moving average, and then I would definitely be watching for strong bullish price action. So right now, still correction. Now, look, this first swing of correction, I've put my fib projections on from here. You can see how well they're working. So we got a bit messy at this 6.854 level. Where's the next? It's the 1109. So when this consolidation breaks to the upside, which it will eventually, and you could put an alarm on that trend line when it breaks that trend line or when it gets back above that 41,700 level again. Okay, that's our long entry, and here's our trade from here to here. Okay, so we go from 41,795 to 66,830. That's the trade. The key is, like, if people who want to jump in and buy it early, don't they? So patience for this correction in BNB. Grin is next. Can't remember who asked for Grin. I think it was someone in the group. Hello, hello. I'm grinning at you, whoever you are. I'm going to start with our weekly chart and candlesticks. Now, sometimes it's just nicer to take everything off. Tricky levels are always like 50 in a downtrend. It's very common to just see 50% retraces and then you carry on lower. And this one, weekly close, you know, we went a little bit higher. We went to the 61.8, I think. Let's see where this is from the lows. well, not from the lows, but from, okay. Well, we've had our first swing lower. I'm feeling quite bullish this one. And the reason is that when I measure, you know how you measure the legs and look at ABCs. Whenever the next swing is 1.618 or 2.618 of the first swing, which it has done here, you're always thinking, well, that was a big strong wave 3, and now we're going to do a funky wave 4 and do another leg higher. And if so, then the ideal pullback is kind of 50% or 382. It's a bit more than that in this case. So I'm still thinking that we could see, if we hold these moving averages here on the daily, that we should see another swing higher in Grin, and we should really end up at these kind of previous highs on this final leg higher maybe. So I'm open to it. The problem is it's just sideways and inconclusive at the moment. So not ready to go, I'm going to say. I wouldn't be holding any, because I think that there is potential that this is a big sequence complete, and that we'll see a big another leg lower. So if this was the first swing lower, then we could see a big second swing lower back to the 200 moving average here. So at this point, I wouldn't be holding any Grin. I'd be waiting for a better buy signal, which we haven't got yet. So just, you know, when you're sideways underneath these daily moving averages, the risk is really lower at the moment in Grin. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to lose money if you hold on. Grin tether probably looks like everything else amazing. It does look amazing. But just, yeah, consolidation. So there's our 126 fib. So we know when we trade above 6.54, we're going to go to the 1.618 next at 7.81. So if we pull back and swing higher here, we can close above that level. That's where we'd be looking for. We could do it from here, couldn't we? It's just all a bit sideways, and you know, don't diddle in the middle. However, look, if I look at this big rally, this is just a 50% pullback. We're holding these moving averages. So, you know, this hourly buy that's swinging higher here now, this could be the one for Grin. So if you bought this here, you could buy a little here. You want to see it close above 6.55. And if it does that, then we're headed to 7.81. That's what I'd be looking for in Grin. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is Dent. Now, Dent. I had this really nice kind of ending declining wedge in Dent, and it looks like we broke out of it. So that's happy days. So I'm going to take these away now, and now we're going to look at this really quite nice bullish pattern that's forming since we broke out. So if we do this as a neckline in Dent Bitcoin, this is our neckline. We could probably make it a little bit lower and connect all of these highs and these lows here. So here's our level, if you like. So our level that we've got to break out from to confirm our bullish pattern is a close above 25, which we haven't managed yet. So close above 25, this is a daily chart of Dent, means if this is 10 and that's 15, so we're going to go 15 higher from 25, which takes us to 40. So our target is up here at the 618 level at 40 with this bullish pattern, and that's where from the head to the neckline equal, okay, 40. So very nice bullish setup if in Dent Bitcoin, outperforming Bitcoin, but this is a really funny little coin. If we can get above 25, we're looking for 40. Okay, so Dent kind of looks cool. I'm sure if everybody does it, it'll work. I'm kidding. Okay, let's look at Leo again. So I got my alarm in Leo dollar because we're looking for a breakout from this bull flag. But let's check Leo Bitcoin first, because it doesn't look too shabby, does it? Now, I put my fibs on from this low to this high, okay, and I ignored the spike in this one, this funky spike. And I'm glad I did, because the fib levels worked. You know, you're looking to see, do the fib levels work? Do you hold the levels that you mark? Are they being respected? If I do it from here, well, you know, they kind of are here, but it was a bit woolly up here, so I didn't like it. Okay, either way, we're holding these previous lows, the 618 fib level, and so if we can hold this 618-382 zone, then in Leo Bitcoin, our target is back to the 382, which is up here next at 154. So I think looking pretty bullish considering how well Bitcoin is doing. And if we look at this hourly consolidation, if this breaks to the outside here, look, there's our sideways range that we're in. If we can break out from this sideways range to the upside, so in other words above 17,800, we're going to look for 20,150. Okay, this is a Phoenix token, yeah. So Leo Bitcoin on the daily, kind of quite nice little bullish. Whenever I see an inside bar that has this shape, they've always worked out bullish for me, and they're not in the book. So normal candlesticks, I know, there we go. So if we can break this sideways range higher, we should go to at least 20,154 and potentially 21,900 in Leo Bitcoin. And we will have done a nice little ABC correction before we go higher as well, like this. So look, nice equal measured move. So that's what we're looking for in Leo Bitcoin. Next one we're going to look at is one Harmony. Now in one, here's our 618 level, and we've broken it, balked it. Let's put normal candles on, and we're holding underneath. So I'm afraid we've got a little bit further to go. If you look how we've held every other fib level, I think that that's what we're going to continue to go. And so 171 in Harmony 1 Bitcoin is where I'm looking for support. So I know it looks like we've made a bit of a base here. So even if this broke higher, unless we got above 220, which is this previous resistance, I wouldn't be tempted to buy it. I'm still thinking one more swing lower. So above 220 though, I think the downswing is over. So the volume is bad on it, is it? Okay. I did cover Leo just now. You have to rewind a little bit, and I just covered Leo. Sorry. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is Vibe. Okay, so we're all clear with this. I think we're going a little bit lower in one, and I'm only tempted to buy it again if we get back above 220. I think this is still a downtrend. Sorry. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is Vibe, and we're going to look at Vibe Bitcoin. Now, if you, I've done a whole bunch of projecting in this chart here, because Vibe looks like we're at new lows. In fact, it looks pretty dire. But I did find a swing where this would be a projection, and so potentially from up here, where does it come from? Oh, from all the way up there. Yes, from when we began. So potentially we are at a level in Vibe where we could find some support if we got some reversal price action. So far, all we've got is 3 days of dojis, which is just indecision. It's not a reversal, it's not a move up, it's not a move down, it's just we're going to have a rest here, and see what happens. But it is holding this 1.618 level, so somebody is looking at it. I don't know, the volume might be rubbish in this one as well, but potentially we're making a little base here. How will we know if we're going higher? I'm going to say let's take the most recent swing. Should we do it from here or do it from here? Better do it from there just in case. Okay. So if we get above, so if you buy it because you like it, if we get above, I wouldn't, but if we get above 443, we will be seeing more upside. We should get to at least 555, which is 50% of this, and the 200 moving average in vibe. But this, make no bones about it, is pretty strong resistance around these previous lows. So 443 is where we need to get above. And that's because that's the previous lows. Watch out, 443. So still in a downtrend, vibe Bitcoin. Vibe dollar. Now, if you're holding some, how much are you losing? Not very much, really. You're not really doing anything, are you? In vibe dollar, we're just sat here, not losing, not making any money, just sat here doing nothing. So I guess you could afford to wait for it to play out, but you know, there are other opportunities out there. So we're stuck in a sideways range in the dollar, and until we break out, not much to do. Now you can put an alarm on the top and wait, but it's much better when you've got a clearly defined range like this to buy the bottom and sell the top. So if we test here again and find some support, that would be a pretty nice long entry, 0.032 in vibe. And finally, Beam was requested. Here's Beam. I'm going to start on a daily chart. Here's our big rally. I think in Beam, we're stalling a little bit at these previous highs. But if the fibs work, and sometimes they do work spectacularly, and sometimes, of course, they don't work. But if they work in this occasion, we've got a little bit higher to squeeze before we hit our first real resistance, which is at 2,474,900 in Beam. And we're not quite there yet. So I'm starting to think maybe this is a bit one of those wave 4 consolidations. Maybe this is a bit like what we're seeing in Bitcoin, where we'll make a bit of a wedge trade sideways and then we'll have a final pop up. So just if I was watching this one, I'd put an alarm here, or if I'm long, put my alarm up here. I wouldn't recommend buying this so close to resistance, but if I was long, I would look at this, and when the alarm goes, I would watch and see, because if it does a Bitcoin and just like blast straight through this level, happy days, it should become support and we can buy it. But if it doesn't, and it reverses here, you can take some profit or take it off. Okay, let's go back and look at Leo against the dollar then. Leo Bitcoin. So Leo Bitcoin, we're looking at this as a 618 level. We're looking for a bounce. We've got our targets in Leo dollar. Have we got a similar setup going on? Doesn't have it to Leo dollar. Here we go. Now, isn't this pretty here in Leo dollar? This is the bull flag that we looked at earlier on the hourly. So we've got a bull flag at our 618 fib level. The 236 fib was respected on a back test. The 50%, I think, was respected on a back test here. And the 61.8 is, so we're going to call our next upside target at this 786 when we get here. So that is going to be at, in dollar, 2.172. But because this is a bull flag, this is a pole, and here's our flag, we should, in classical, use the pole and project it. And if we do that here, then we get up here to our 886, and if not, closer to the highs. And so, you know, using this conservatively, 2.37, using this from the breakout point, we retest the highs. And so, you know, don't close your whole position here at 2.17. We could very easily go higher. This is just the first resistance. So here's our hourly channel, or our that we're looking to break out from in Leo dollar, where my alarm went earlier. It's had a little few false breaks here. So when it does that and it gets a bit naughty, I usually go down to the 15-minute. Okay, and if it's going to be a real breakout, here we go again. See, I've drawn it right. If it's going to be a real breakout, then we'll hold on here. So we'll go like A, B, C, and then we'll turn up higher, and we won't come back too far. And if this is just another false breakout, we'll do this and down again, and we haven't broken out at all. So that's how I'm watching Leo dollar for that bull flag pattern breakout, hopefully. There we go. Sorry about your ears. You just punted for a bag of rep. Oh, rep. Every now and then rep has got an interesting chart set up, hasn't it? Let me have a look. See if I've got any rep we can look at here. Although if it's just a punt and not really a good setup, perhaps we shouldn't be looking at it. So that's really where we are. You know, I think we've got another week of it being all about Bitcoin before we see some summer consolidation maybe, and maybe, you know, a pullback, a July swoon, which is very common in this market. Now, gosh, look at this. Where are we going to go from down here? Like this. Okay, I'm running out of levels, so God, I found this chart all a bit messy, but you know, clearly this is a very, very good support zone that we're coming into in Augur. I've got Augur Eth, Rep Eth. I should put Rep Bitcoin up. Here we go. So, oh, not just in Rep Eth, but a very good support zone in Rep Bitcoin and a retest of the lows here. So if it was going to do it, this is a good place, 1661. Let's see how it's behaving here. Well, we've had a couple of days and it's hanging on, isn't it? So yeah, it does look quite supportive here. I agree. And the Dead Rabbits thinks EOS Bitcoin's gonna... EOS is one of those ones, you know, where kind of Bitcoin does really well, and then people recycle their profits in Bitcoin into some of the bigger blue chip alts, and EOS is one of those bigger blue chip alts that people tend to recycle their profits into. The problem in this one is that we've had a big 5-wave rally up, I think. We've had one swing of correction lower, and I think we'll do another one in EOS dollar before we turn higher again. This is a daily chart. So how far will this B leg go before we see another swing lower? Let's see, I'm not quite sure. Maybe 50% is very common in corrections, so the most common. So let's peer under the hood here. No. Oh, 618. Yeah, so we've got this little hourly rising channel, and I think if this breaks down from the 618 level and this support here, so this will be our first leg of correction. So we've gone A, B, and I think that there's the potential therefore for another swing lower in EOS dollar. So I agree with you though about the blue chip thing, and I think that this second swing or this retest of the lows, so we're either going to retest the lows and they're going to hold, or we're going to come back to the 50% or somewhere in the middle here at 4.9. But EOS, I agree. But EOS dollar in a correction at the moment, we need to wait for that to play out before we can buy it again. In EOS Bitcoin, I've got the same ABC correction I'm waiting for. And so my target is down here, 5,700. And if I put my fibs on in this one, that is it's a really cool pattern, 886 fib, whole bunch of support there. That's what I'm waiting for in EOS Bitcoin, 5,600, 5,700. Well, if you don't mind hodling and you've got, you know, the problem I find hodling I don't mind hodling if it's not doing very much, you know. Sometimes though, when you have big corrections and you'll see big swings in your P&L, it can be quite psychologically damaging. So I wouldn't recommend it I wouldn't recommend doing it unless you actually have to. Okay, so there we go. I think we've got another week of it all being about Bitcoin, and then maybe we can have a bit of a summer swoon. I think we're in a big triangle here. We've got one more swing lower, and then maybe another rally in Bitcoin before it's all over. But if we properly break down here, or if we make a new low in Bitcoin below 10,300, we will have a failed fifth, which is quite bearish, and a bigger correction. Okay, again, thank you very much for coming. I have got a competition. You can win membership of my group. What was the top three? Bitcoin, Ethereum, and is it Link? Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Link. Link above 17,600. After this ABC correction, we're looking for the new next upswing to begin in Link. Thanks, everyone.